Happy Sunday, everybody. Today we're looking at Broadway Limited's Gevos. All right, jumping right into this. A little bit long time coming on this review. I've had these models in my collection for quite some time now, and I've been slowly working through locomotives, and it was finally come around to taking a look at the Broadway Limited Gevos. I believe here shortly, if they don't get delayed again, Broadway is going to be coming out with the Paragon 4 version of these, which I'm really excited to take a look at. I hope I can get my hands on some relatively quickly. I've had pretty darn good luck with these, and I expect the Paragon 4s to be a step up from what we've got here. So we'll probably go ahead and take a look at these. We'll compare them to its Kato counterpart, and then we'll talk about usability and all that stuff. So let's just go ahead and take a quick peek here. We'll start up front on the BNSF. This is the oldest one I have. For reference, this one is a refurb model. The two Canadian Nationals behind are bought brand new. And to be honest with you, they are gorgeous looking models, and we're going to take a quick look here. The handrails are not painted from the factory. You can tell by the poor quality paint job that that's something that I did just to add a little bit of detail. Matter of fact, I believe my video on how I paint my handrails, I did this unit on. But anyway, the added on handrails and grab bars are really nice quality on these. They are sturdy, they don't break easily, and they're relatively close to scale when it, the standoff distance. I guess I'm not sure how to put it, but sometimes separately applied handrails can get sticking a ways off of the unit, and it's just not totally scale looking. These are pretty close, and I do rather like the way they look. I did end up on most of these trimming the hoses. They were slightly out of height gauge, I guess. Trimmed them back, good runability after that. Something that when I go ahead and pull the Kato over, you'll notice the trucks on these are of a drastically higher quality than, say, a Kato and some other brands. Really like how these look. Got all the brake tubing. Really, really good detail. Also, hard to catch on camera, but they definitely don't have the plasticky look like the Katos do, and I'll go ahead and slide that one in here in just a second when we're comparing. The paint and bodywork is immaculate on this. All the little nooks and crannies are well painted. There's no light spots. We've got added, painted detail here. The body lines are really nice and crisp on the side of the body. Paint seems to fill those really well. Not a whole lot of vents on a Gevo to look at. The rear, they could be a little bit better, but they do look pretty good for N scale. Horns and top radiator grills are exceptional on this. They look great. They have a good amount of depth to them. Again, don't mind the dust. Working layout, these engines get used. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Yeah, the camera doesn't quite have it. Under a magnifying glass, you can almost read some of the words there. So the separately applied details are spot on with this. And again, painted handrails are something I did on this, not factory. But no added greebling on the back. The coupler handles and all that type of stuff, they are not installed on this particular model. But for the price point these are coming in at, I really think these are up there with when it comes to high quality body detail. Let's just see, let me back this up just a tickle here. And we're gonna pull a Kato in here. When you get these side by side, there is a substantial difference in one height and just overall looks. Zoom in just a little bit more. This Kato's had a little bit of work done. It has not had steps painted or anything, but the handrails are painted. And you can kind of see the front of it there. The shape of the handrails is much more defined on the Broadway. The color, in my opinion, is nicer, although this could be considered kind of a more sun-weathered BNSF, so do with that what you will. Like the lettering seems to be more scale to my eye, and then if you're looking at the trucks on these, they kind of have a plasticky tint to them, and the Broadway definitely has better detail when you get up close. Also, the molded in handrails and whatnot, you know, they're not going to look as nice, period, but you can definitely tell the quality difference when you get these side by side. The height difference, I do believe the Kato is out of spec, to be honest with you. Coupler height ends up being off kind of no matter what you do with these, depending on what what version of microtrains adapter you use on them, but I prefer to run this one in a little bit lower configuration, makes it a little more usable. But yeah, there's something about the Kato ES44ACs, they just aren't quite right. So by far, the Broadway ones, in my opinion, are the best ES44AC that I have found so far. And I don't have it anymore. I have maybe one that I'm going to bring in at a little later date, but I had a Fox Valley Models ES44AC. I had two of them, one in the Swoosh and one in the Heritage 2. And quite honestly, the detail on this is substantially better, and these also run better, in my opinion. Let's go ahead and pull the BNSF back. We'll just take a quick look at the CNs as long as we got them here. Going to be a little hard to see the black on camera here, but these are pretty darn good looking models. Something that I thought was odd, I did some looking, and the safety paints don't match on Canadian Nationals, so white handrails and yellow steps, but honestly, same detail. This one, you get a look at the other side. We got nice vent detail there at the top. I'm gonna try to turn this up just a little bit so we get a better image here. Bear with me. There we are. But yeah, I think that's the dynamic vents, if I remember right. They look really good on this, and again, really nice separately applied detail and decals on there. They do look really good. The handrail's a little bit bent there. Must have gave it some shelf wear, but yeah, really happy with the way these turned out. So now let's go ahead and talk about the runability and usability of these engines. I struggled to find a place to put these in my review structure. You know, when I first started, I ended up picking the AC6000 as my first standard engine, and then as we worked into the Paragon 4 SD70ACs, they kind of took the mantle. And the reason why I didn't get into these sooner is it seems like these are a little harder to come by. The used market is pretty thin when it comes to finding these things, and refurb store generally doesn't have them very often, and finding them new can be a little bit difficult too. And I'm curious if they've just totally sold out all their stock and they're getting ready to produce the Paragon 4 version of this. I know it's supposed to come out anytime now. I think it keeps getting pushed back. I thought the first estimated date was earlier in June this year, but I hope to get my hands on them to see if they fixed some of the issues that I ran into with these engines. Full disclosure, like I said, 6438 was a refurb unit and had to go back to the factory shortly after I got it. Kind of a little bit of a nitpicky thing. It ran into the same issue that one of my AC6000s had, and it had the always-on cab light issue when I was running it in consist with other engines. And I specifically picked up this BNSF to be kind of a jump-in engine for some of my Broadway consists when I want a third engine or something to that nature. At that time, I was running mostly 2-engine consists, and now I'm kind of jumping into running more like 3-engine consists most of the time. So honestly, I haven't had as much use for it as of late because I've kind of upgraded everything into 3-engine consists, but that's what it was originally purchased for. And so when the cab light didn't function properly in its main use for me, I opted to go ahead and send it back and have them reflash the decoder or whatever they did there. But got it back a couple weeks later. Everything's been good ever since. It's got quite a bit of runtime. I lashed it up with a lot of my different Broadway Paragon 3 or Paragon 4 consists, and no speed matching. It's just ready to go every time you do it. Just now that I'm using an ESU system, I just add it to the consist and it works like it should. Before, I would just CV19 and set it up as the on CV230, the center engine, so the lights wouldn't never work or anything like that. So it was just basically a dummy engine that provided extra, power, a DPU, and then I could run it, mid-train or end of train, no problem. It doesn't try to overspeed or run behind. It just runs flawlessly with all of my other Broadway engines, and that is really some added value when you start looking at these, consisting them up with all your other engines. The CNs I bought as a pair to run together, and from the get-go they have been awesome. I've not had one problem with them other than these run the wiper style pickups, and occasionally they'll start to hiccup a little bit. You'll need to clean the wipers a little bit and add a little bit of, I've actually found that the Atlas, I believe, just a moment. Yeah, Atlas Conduct-A-Lube. I have been having excellent luck. A drop of that on each contact, and rock and roll, they run flawlessly for lots and lots of time. I think I've only done it 2 or 3 times now, and I'm approaching, if I went back and checked my logs, I'm almost at 80 hours of runtime with those two together. So lots of hours running on my layout, and a little bit of maintenance here and there, and they run great. Honestly, I have not had to do that with the BNSF. I don't know why. Maybe it's slightly different vintage. It runs the wiper pickups just like the CNs, but honestly hoping that with the Paragon 4 version, they will upgrade them to directly wired contact or pickups just like the Aces were, and that'll solve a lot of the onesie-twosie problems I have had with these, and should make them absolute beasts of engines when they finally do come out. Onesie-twosie pickup issues aside, these are absolutely just as strong pullers as my Aces. You can lash these up with as many cars as you want on a flat run or slight grade, and they'll pull like animals. Good back EMF on these, just like all my other Broadways. And honestly, they do pretty darn good through turnouts. I have had the occasional coming down my my outer loop where the turn goes one direction, and I have a turnout that immediately snakes you the other direction. When there is a large load behind them and the train kind of tends to push the engines a little bit, if I try to get them to go through that turnout, I will occasionally have front truck tracking error. My layout is kind of crammed, and most people who have good track laying skills would never set it up that way. I don't fault it for that, but it is something to be aware of. There are certain tight radius S-curve type situations that the front trucks definitely struggle with on these engines. So let's go ahead and talk about the electronics now. I said these are Paragon 3 and they have sound, which is standard for Broadways. And let's go ahead and turn on the layout and get these spooled up, and we'll let you hear what they sound like here. And there. So that right there is something that I'm not sure why that's happening. It only seems to happen with my CN consist. It never was an issue. It never came up on my Digitrax system, but on this ESU, for some reason, this particular consist right here, it just has a weird, the horn doesn't quite function right. I'm not sure what that is. The BNSF functions like it should. Go ahead and get it turned on here. And you can see the cab light is on there. If I give it a little bit of forward throttle, shuts right off like it should. That has fortunately been fixed. That's the reason why I sent it back. It would stay on like this in at any speed. Let's go ahead and pull it back. And we'll mute it for now. I'll head back over to the CNs here. Let's go ahead and rev them up. I have had to turn the sound down on all of these from the factory. They're very loud, and they have really good speakers in them. I ended up adjusting the volume down on all of them quite a bit to kind of match everything else on my layout. So definite plus for Broadway. They really get their speakers matched well to their decoders, and you get a good, crisp, loud sound. All right, we're going to go ahead and bring them back down to idle. And as long as I got that sitting here, we're going to turn this a little bit. We'll just go ahead and slide the BNSF back here. We'll get it turned back on in the forward position. We'll turn on the front light and ditch lights. Oh. Never mind, I won't be able to turn on the ditch lights because this is in a consist, but I don't know if you can quite see that there. Sitting, the light is dimmed, and if you watch carefully right now, you'll see it brighten up ever so slightly. One thing about the Broadways, they don't have the flashing light issue like some of my TCS decoders do. The dim just doesn't show up real well when I'm using the studio lights, but in the parked position, the lights are dim. As soon as you throttle up, they come up to bright and they function like they should. I'm going to go ahead and kill the power on the layout now. I bring this up in every one of my Broadway reviews, and I think it's important because, in my opinion, Broadway has the standard when it comes to CVs and the way that they make them function on their engines. Everything is easy to find in the manual. It's easy to adjust all of them, and it can be done in remote or on, a computer system. To adjust the volume on these, it was simple. All I had to do was, I did not want the entire volume turned down. I wanted the horns to remain loud. I just wanted the engine sounds to be quieted up. So you go find the prime mover CV, adjust the volume settings down accordingly. It takes 30 seconds to buzz through the manual and do it. Awesome, Broadway. I really appreciate that. And for people that don't have computer systems, these are awesome for adjustability and usability when you have to do it in remote. The other thing, these have Broadway's awesome easy consisting mode. CV19 to set up your consist number. These CNs are set as a crew number 20. They run both in the forward direction. You want to run one in the other direction, add 128 to that number. The engine automatically responds in reverse. You want to set up your lights to function semi-properly in consist. Go to CV230, lead engine's 1, any intermediate DPU engine is 2, And the rear engine, if you want the lights to function in the reverse direction, set it as number 3. Swap directions, the lights will move engine to engine. You've seen it in any of my Broadway reviews. It's nothing new here. It is my favorite feature of these, and they are absolutely the best in the industry because of it. Got lots of lock sounds, and I've got some soundtracks now on my layout, and as cool as the lock sounds are, and they do have excellent sound files, the trying to do anything in remote on them is next to impossible, and that's really a shame because they do make some really good decoders. I ended up getting an ESU remote to try it with, and the newer Wi-Fi remotes, it seems to me that some of this stuff is being negated. You can do a lot of this stuff in remote, which is really cool, and I'm hoping to do a review on it when I get some more experience with it and some time on it. But for the normal guy running an NCE or an MRC or a Digitrack system or even a DCC++, these are so awesome. They're so easy to program, and I can't say enough good things about it, Broadway. You guys are doing a good job. You're awesome. So, like always, it's time to talk price point and what I think these things are worth. If you can find them on the refurb store, awesome deal. Jump on it if you can. They're generally $167, $168 plus a little bit of shipping. You're right in there for the $180. DCC, sound, excellent runability, good polars, and a gorgeous body. Awesome deal for that $180. You can a lot of times buy them new for $200 to $210 shipped. I've seen it several times on eBay, and there are a couple of stores out there that have them kind of in that price point. Much above that $210, and we start to knock on the door of scale trains, and when it comes time to look at the GEVOs by scale trains, I'll definitely have these in there. That's kind of why I wanted to get these in first, because there are some detailing work and some sound files that we need to look at. But for that $180 to $210 price range, these things are absolutely awesome, worth the money, and they'll be great runners for you. All right, everybody, thanks for stopping by. I will see you this Wednesday. We're going to do a little more weathering on that tank car, and I think we'll be done with it. And yeah, got a cool rolling stock video this Friday too, so I will see you then. Have a good rest of your weekend.